the advice that patients are given that if they're put on the drug metronidazole, they should not drink any alcohol, that drinking alcohol would make them violently ill. Metronidazole is an antibiotic that's used very frequently in medicine, and the thought behind this was many years ago, back in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, there were case reports that said patients who took a combination of alcohol and metronidazole would get more flushing, vomiting, get really, really, really sick, and that it should be avoided. This was based on information that were in textbooks from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and still to this day remain in textbooks, saying there was a potential interaction between metronidazole and alcohol that would cause this kind of a reaction, so that when physicians saw people who were taking the two drugs together and throwing up and sweating and feeling awful, they reported it to medical journals, and those were case reports, and those were accepted as the truth. There's one small study that looked at this, and they found 12 medical students that when they were paid money and given alcohol, they were very happy about that. They were given metronidazole, half of them, and half of them were given placebo, and then they measured blood alcohol levels, they measured acetaldehyde levels in the blood, they looked at their pulse, they looked at their temperature, and they had them do a symptom log, and they found no difference between those that took alcohol with their metronidazole and those who just had a placebo and metronidazole. There's also a study that was published fairly recently that showed in an emergency room setting, they looked at all individuals who had gotten alcohol and metronidazole and come into emergency room for other reasons, and they found no increased risk of having one of these reactions that I mentioned with the nausea, vomiting, sweating in patients who were taking both alcohol and metronidazole versus equal amount of alcohol alone. Some of the thoughts are that metronidazole makes people vomit, it makes them feel sick as can be, and huge amounts of alcohol tend to make people vomit and make them feel awful. So the idea that we blamed it on an interaction when it may not be there.